Hey. Welcome to Five Ingredients. My name is Pebs from Pep Talks Podcast and also Jammin' 1077. And right here, my good friend from Captain Cooks, we got Chris. Hey.
Up? What's going on, Miss Pebs?
Now,
How
if
you
you
doing?
don't know, we're both podcast hosts. And also, Chris is a professional chef and he's got his own hot sauce. You got your own rub, right?
I do, yeah. The spice rub, not just rub. That sounds a little weird, but yes, I have a spice rub.
Spice rub.
There you
Sorry.
go. Actually, I changed my mind. I like the way rub sounds better. Never mind. Yes, I have my own rub because that way everybody will love it no matter what.
So what we're doing every week is we decided with our two podcasts, I host more of a self-love motivational kind of local podcast in Connecticut. And we wanted to just kind of bring together our forces of, just how we can relate to one another and also relate to a wider audience too. So
Right.
I figured everyone's got to make dinner, right?
Literally everybody. And it's the one thing, food is the one thing that I think the reason that I love working with food and working in food, which thank you for calling me professional chef, by the way. I'm borderline, maybe not a professional chef, but I'm
You're there.
definitely, but no, the reason I love food and I love working with food and I love working with people who work with food is that it's the one thing that unanimously, every human experiences at some point. Now, some people don't experience it as often or as intensely or or whatever, but everybody at some point experiences it. Everybody's got to cook at some point. And even if it's something simple, even if it's just doing boiled eggs, whatever, there's very few things I think that are just completely universally kind of shared.
Yeah.
And food is absolutely one of them. And after we recorded and I had you on, I had our shows, by the way, are very different. As you mentioned, you have a kind of motivational self-love podcast,
Yeah.
Called Pep Talks, where you literally give pep talks and you're just like, yeah, buddy. And that's like the vibe of the show is like, yeah, buddy, you got it, and it's like good. And then my show is not that. My show is, that more people start to question maybe why they're even listening or, alive at some points. So you provide the motivation that even for me, I was listening and I was just like, fuck, I listened to it and I was like, this made me feel really good.
Thank you.
So my
Thank
whole
you.
thought was if somebody like me, this could be like, yeah, buddy, then I was like, you know what? I'm like, let me
That's
see.
the best compliment right there.
Oh, you're welcome.
And so also you host the Spicy Memories podcast.
Yes,
So can you
Spicy
tell us
Memories
about
show.
that? Because I've learned a lot myself. And again, maybe I should better explain why I wanted to bring our forces together too, is
Sure.
because I learned so much by being on your podcast and listening to all of the different episodes where you explain, just simple things that no one teaches you. And I know that with culinary education and, just the fact that you've been doing it for years, you have this experience that you can bestow upon people. And I think our forces together are just really awesome. So the Spicy Memories podcast, please, tell us
Spicy
about.
Memories. Spicy Memories started as a way for me to really, really, really get off my chest a bunch of stuff that I initially was just feeling about food. I mean, the first episode, well, you said the second technically. I guess the first is the intro, but yeah, this first real episode was just me in my kitchen at night after I had way too much bourbon, and I was just like, I've got some stuff to say about food. And I literally just had my phone microphone, and I was just like, and I just ranted. I'm like, this is what I think about food trends, and I just would say that, and then it turned into me bringing on people that I had known who I thought were really interesting, and not everyone involved in food. In fact, a lot of people are not involved with food that I bring on. You're not involved in the food world necessarily, professionally at least, and I brought you on. And
Right.
it was a great fucking episode. So the show has turned into, Spicy Memories could relate to a spiced memory, something that you remember that caused some trauma because it was very, very heat inducing in your mouth. But Spicy Memories could also be like emotional trauma, you know what I mean? So it's a little,
Okay.
it's a little, yeah, you know what I mean? A little emotional spice, never hurt anybody. But now the show basically is just I've stopped caring about restrictions on who I bring on, and so now that I've kind of broadened who I bring on, I do work food into pretty much every episode. But there are a lot of episodes where a lot of it's not about food, and I think I've realized that it's more about having a good conversation. So it's really become kind of a platform for me to be able to kind of bring other people kind of down to my level and just kind of have a good conversation. and I don't really have an outlet to do that other than that show. So like, you can't just like, pull someone random off the street and be like, have a seat, let's talk. So,
Exactly.
like
I
you
totally
could,
relate.
yeah, you could, but you would probably be arrested. So, um, but yeah, so that's Spicy Memories is a food show. What is the tagline? It's Spicy Memories podcast where we talk about food and life and stuff. That's basically all it is. It's everything.
I think that's
So
well said.
yeah. So that helps. And yeah, it's been fun. I'm at episode. You have way more. I envy your consistency, by the way, so much that you release episodes every fucking Friday, same time. It's like you're just like, no, I'm putting an episode. I don't give a shit. Like you're just like that's it. Like you're just like I'm gonna be so consistent with it. And I'm like I get so motivated. I'm like bang bang bang. I'll release like 3 episodes 3 weeks in a row, and then I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, oh shit, it's been like 2.5 weeks since I put out an episode. I should probably record. Because like
It
I
happens.
yeah, because like I always just kind of go based off the schedule of who I can schedule, and if the scheduling just isn't working out, I'd almost
Yeah.
rather like not record, because I've had episodes where I try to kind of push myself to record a solo episode, and
Yeah.
I don't I don't carry myself solo as well as you do. You have it like very refined,
It's
and
not
I'm like,
easy to do solo. Yeah.
no, like I sit there and I record for like 45 minutes, and then I hit stop and I'm just like, I don't know what I just said. Like I cannot like like I cannot remember anything I just said. So yeah, our two podcasts, our two forces joining together, rather, I think will be very, very interesting, because you're definitely one of the more interesting people that I've had on the show. So it's been,
Hey, thank you. I
it's been,
appreciate
you're
that.
very welcome.
That's kind of an honor. You've had a lot of interesting people on.
Yeah, no, don't tell them I said that, but like, yeah,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
yeah,
All
totally,
right.
no, absolutely, no. You're definitely, see, you're the kind of guest that I like having, because you are not somebody who, by the way, we've never met in person. People
That's
should
right.
probably know that, right?
Yes.
Um, but I don't know, like we weren't like friends in high school, right? We haven't known each other
No.
in years. We work in two
Yeah.
different industries. Like there's
Yeah.
there's a list of reasons why you and I shouldn't talk, right? Like there's a whole list of reasons.
Right.
And so the fact that we are forcefully making a podcast
Yes.
together, I
Yes.
think is brilliant. I think it's amazing. I'm like, yes, this is
Yeah.
what true creativity is about. It's about, I
Hmm.
don't give a shit about what you actually do or who you talk to, whatever. This is what we're going to do. And
Yeah.
it's all about, humanity 101, I think. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So we found the commonality, I think,
we
and
did.
it came down to 5 ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
5 of them. So
5
that's a
ingredients.
whole basic theme of the podcast. If you haven't figured it out, what we're going to do we're going to try and keep it like maybe monthly here. And it's just a dish to inspire you for the month that you can make really quick. It has to be done within an hour's time.
Right.
And some of the recipes can be done within like 30 minutes. Like this one,
Yeah.
right out the gate, we're coming out easy. I think 25 minutes this dish took me. So do you want to tell everybody what was the dish, because I can't pronounce these sorts of.
Yes, of course. So I wanted to start with a pasta dish, because it's it's pasta. It's hard to find anybody who doesn't like pasta. If you don't like pasta, then just you should stop listening, or listen and try to get convinced to like pasta.
I am
Pasta.
so picky. So listen,
Yeah,
yes,
but
if I like
but you
pasta,
like, yeah,
then
exactly. You're
yeah.
exactly. Pasta aglio olio, which is in Italian, basically is just like pasta with garlic and oil. That's basically what it translates to. And it's the basic dish is just you're cooking pasta, and in a separate pan you are putting the other ingredients, and then within a very short time frame you combine them, and that's it. So you want me to run over the ingredients first, just real
Yeah,
quick? Okay, so
definitely.
there's 5 main ones, and there's some variations people can throw in if they really want to. But if you're gonna make like a classic pasta, Jesus, pasta aglio olio. Sorry,
I gotta
too much.
practice that.
Yeah,
People are gonna be like, "What are you cooking on your first episode?" And I'm gonna be like, "Some pasta
Yeah,
thing."
it's like pasta oil. Like, what is it? Pasta oil.
Pasta oil. Okay.
No, pasta aglio olio. Aglio olio. That's how they say it.
Oh, that now I'm just gonna sound like I'm trying if I
No,
do
exactly.
that.
I mean, I sound like I'm trying, because I've heard it wrong my whole life. I'm like a New York Italian, so the way that they say things are totally wrong. Like, it's not how you're supposed to say it. Like, pasta aglio olio. That's what they say. I'm like, it's not aglio olio. Like, no, like that's not.
That's funny.
Anyway, so you need 1 box of long pasta, spaghetti, or linguine. I had you get linguine, right? I prefer
Yes.
linguine for this. I'll get into
Yep.
why after. 2 large cloves of garlic, I put 1 tablespoon of chili flakes, but some people may need less if it's too intense, or or more if they're like me and they enjoy. If you're a masochist, then yes, you could use more chili flakes. Um, and then at least 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You may need more. You just kind of have to eyeball it with that, and I'll get into why. And the last one is a bunch of parsley. And I'm not just saying, oh, a bunch, because I'm guessing, like, I mean like a bunch. That's what it's called. So, and the last like optional one is cheese. You probably should top it with some Parmesan cheese, but like it's not necessarily like vital to the dish because it's really about like the oil and the garlic and the parsley and all that. So I put that as an optional ingredient. But yeah, so pasta, garlic, chili flakes, olive oil, and parsley. That's it. Those are the 5 main ingredients.
Okay, I gotta make a few comments. We gotta go over a head of garlic and the difference between cloves because when I moved out of my house, when I was becoming an adult, I was like, what the hell's the difference and why didn't I learn?
So a head of garlic is the thing that you actually buy. The head. It's like looks like a little pumpkin, right? Like the little
Okay.
bulb itself. That's called a head of garlic. Like if you ever hear somebody, it's like, just throw half a head of garlic inside of your chicken. That means you just literally slice the whole fucking thing in the middle. And so you can
Yeah.
which by the way, that's a great trick. Sidebar for everybody. If you're ever roasting chicken, cut a lemon in half and cut a whole head of garlic in half,
Yeah.
shove it into the cavity of the chicken, kind of
Do you mean like the outsides of the garlic head too? Like or
everything. Yeah.
take that
Yeah,
stuff
the
off?
skins. No, the skins, everything.
Keep it on.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, you could take an entire head of garlic and you can wrap it in aluminum foil, throw it in the oven, roast it for like an hour in the aluminum foil, and when you take it out, it literally squeezes out like it's coming out of a tube, and it is sweeter,
Oh.
and it's not as
Okay.
like it doesn't have that allicin, the chemical in garlic, by the way, that you smell. That's called allicin. So it doesn't have that kind of allicin bite. It's a little sweeter, So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so a head of garlic is the whole thing. Cloves are the little ones inside. There's generally what I found, depending on the kind of garlic that you get, if it's like a good head of garlic and not like the small little shitty ones that come from overseas or whatever, um, a good head of garlic will have 12 cloves inside of it, which for me lasts, 2 days. So pretty much. But and then I'm always just like, why does my stomach hurt so much? Uh, go figure. But yeah, so that's the garlic
Okay.
debate
Well,
there.
because I think I was looking at all the different heads of garlic too, and I didn't know if there was a way to tell if like they were good or bad. Because then I got home and I cracked it open, and like one of the cloves looked like kind of rotten.
Yeah, which I mean, the nice thing about the cloves, one of the cloves being kind of like like scavish, like get out,
Yeah, I can still use the
Um,
others, right?
exactly, because they're
Okay.
all like isolated in their own like little skins there. The only thing is like if you see out of the entire clove, if you see a green sprout coming from the top, out of the entire head rather, a green sprout coming from the top, you probably shouldn't use it. I mean, you can. Certain people shouldn't eat like sprouted foods. Like if you're pregnant, you shouldn't eat anything that has sprouts on it.
Oh
Whether it's
wow, really?
yeah, whether it's garlic or whether it's like potatoes and stuff. They say pregnant women shouldn't. Anybody who's got an iffy stomach as it is, just in general, probably shouldn't do that. But people who have ironclad bellies like me, where I put basically just poison inside of myself every day. Um, but yeah, it's so like that's as far as the other way to tell if a garlic head is bad. I mean, if like you said, the rotten that you kind of see, like the black a little bit, that's often mistaken for rot when it's really just like dirt from them
Okay.
like being shipped in. So
Yeah.
like you can wipe a lot of that off. But if you see one that's like it's like dug into the garlic, where you're just like, oh yeah, that looks like it was eating away at the head of garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't just put it down.
Okay.
Um, a nice little tip, little fun fact here for anybody ever buying garlic. The ones in the sleeve, as reluctant as I am to ever get those, unless I absolutely need to, I try not to buy those because those are usually just kind of mass produced, kind of like shitty garlic. The loose ones that you just kind of grab,
Yeah.
they should be, I would say, a little bit smaller than like the inside of your palm. Like draw a little circle inside of there, right? And you should get one about that size. One that you could hold and be
Okay.
like, okay. And on the bottom of the garlic head, if you look, there's a little tiny root, right?
Mm-hmm.
The root should be sticking out because that means that it was really in the ground and it was really pulled, and that's like good quality. So
Gotcha.
you should see a little
Okay.
root with like little tiny hairs on the bottom of the garlic. That's that's what you really want, because if you flip a piece of garlic over and you don't see that and it looks more just like kind of like a butt, don't. No. no good. So sorry for the description, but it's true.
No, it's
Like,
really interesting.
so yeah, that's
That's
a
good
good
to
way.
know.
Yeah, because some garlic is just, and elephant garlic's total bullshit. Don't buy elephant garlic. Those are where each clove, not the head, the cloves are like that big. They're crazy big.
Bigger
It's
than like
just
a quarter?
bigger than like half of my hand. Like
Oh
I'm
my
talking like
gosh.
yeah, I'm talking like
Damn.
so the head of the garlic, it's a nice way to tell whether something is not necessarily organic, but whether something is actually just good to eat or not. And some people get freaked out, not to expand so much on garlic, but I don't ever have an opportunity to do it, so whatever. But
Do it.
if you ever buy garlic and you see that it's purple, the cloves or
Yeah.
the skin itself is
Yes.
purple, that's totally fine. All that
Oh,
is young garlic. So all that means is that
I
it's
thought
young.
you were going to go the other way with that.
No, you would think that it would be old, but no, purple is young. Somebody, because I remember I posted it years ago. I was making a pasta dish actually, and they saw me like cracking the garlic and like chopping it up or whatever, and somebody commented on one of my Facebook posts about it, and they were just like, "Oh, you didn't notice that the garlic was freaking rotten over there, buddy? It's a little purple." And I'm just like, "Okay, well, here we go, dick." And I'm just like, and I wrote this whole thing, but so it's always stuck in my mind. But
That's funny.
so yeah, that's the garlic.
Okay. When I was at the store, I asked you parsley. They were all out. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. There's a shortage of basically whatever the F I need at the
Right.
store. So you said curly parsley. That I was like, is that cool?
Yeah,
What is
it's fine.
that?
Curly parsley is it's still parsley and it tastes like parsley. It's just curly parsley. It's a
Is it
different
curly?
consist. Nothing gets by you, Pebs. You're like a fucking no. Sorry, that was mean. No, yeah, it's obviously it's curly, but it's the taste is a little bit different and the texture is different and the water retention, if that makes any sense, is a little different. So curly parsley doesn't the stalks and the actual leaves themselves are more sturdy, so they can retain a little bit more water and they don't get as damaged. So they can actually last in the store and they can last a little bit longer. Like I showed you that in a fun trick where you cut off the bottom and leave it in water or whatever, which we'll explain, I'm sure at some point. But that'll last longer than like the kind of parsley that I have, which is just like regular flat leaf parsley, they call it. And flat leaf
Okay.
parsley, if you ever have noticed, if you get it like saturated after you've severed it from the stems and you're like going to like wash it or whatever, the leaves are just like they're just like so weak. They're just like I don't know what to do. Like they're all over the place. So like curly parsley is not as intense a flavor. So the flat leaf parsley to me has always had more of that parsley
Okay.
aroma, but curly parsley works just as fine, and it's got a nice crunch, so I kind of like it. So
Okay. And if somebody doesn't have olive oil, is like canola oil or vegetable oil, like grapeseed oil?
okay, there you go. So grapeseed oil and avocado oil are better,
Okay.
but just buy olive oil, people. Come on, like
Okay.
just go get olive oil. And if you get olive oil, if you're getting olive oil to cook with this, it should be extra virgin olive oil, right?
Okay.
Um, because it's yet to have life tear it down. No, because sorry, I gotta remember I'm not on my show. Extra virgin olive oil, it's a little bit, it's got a lower smoke point, so it burns a lot easier, but it's got a deeper flavor, and it's really,
Okay.
really, really, really good. It's that classic kind of on top of pizza and pasta kind of olive oil taste that you get. There is such a thing as regular olive oil, and it's almost as light in color as canola oil, and that is
Hmm.
really good to like fry in. If people fry in olive oil, that's like oof, that's a muy dinero. But um, but it's also that olive oil, the lighter one, has a higher smoke point, so people use it when they don't want something to burn, right?
Oh,
Like
okay.
you cooked the garlic on, I told you, I think medium, right? So like if you had cranked the heat up a little bit more, that oil would have just started kind of smoking a little bit and it could have easily burned everything. So that's what they
Gotcha.
mean by
Okay.
like a lower smoke point. That's why when you're doing like fried chicken and like things that require a lot of heat, they tell you to use like canola, vegetable oil. Those things have a huge, like a very high smoke point. And
Gotcha.
that's why people love grapeseed and avocado oil, because they have high smoke points, but they're not as fatty as canola oil and vegetable oil. So
Hmm.
the more you know.
I was gonna say you're throwing it down,
Um,
all the knowledge right
yeah, man.
now.
Yeah. But yeah,
Uh,
just
s-
buy olive oil, people. Come on.
do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Um, so let's go through the recipe, and I guess I can like kind of give you my like details because I cooked this earlier for my husband and I.
Yeah, sure. You
All
want me to
right,
run through it, or do you want to
so
run through it?
You run through it actually, and I'll tell you how it went.
Okay. So I gave you
Yeah.
guys fair enough. I only put 8 numbers as far as the description and the instructions. I think that's pretty
Oh,
good
it was
because
so easy.
okay, because and they're short sentences too, because as everyone
Yeah.
who's listening or watching knows, you be looking at some of these recipes and woof. It's like after scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and
Right.
then
That's not the point.
it's
Yeah.
like they'll waste a whole paragraph just to tell you on how to like drop something in oil. Like no, no, no. So number one obviously was fill a pot with water, but I wrote a lot. So the fact that you were able to decipher that, thank you very much.
I read it a few times and was like, fill a lot with water. Does he mean fill a lot of water up or no, no.
Oh
Oh,
God.
I'm like L and P are near each other on the keyboard. I looked at the keyboard.
Yeah, especially when it's fucking midnight. All right.
Fill a
Jesus.
pot with water. Yes.
Such an ass. I'm sorry. So yeah, fill a pot with water and set it to high. If people, by the way, I didn't put this in the description because you could just fill a pot, you're gonna take it out. But if you really need an exact amount of water, if you're that kind of person, 5 quarts. There you go, 5 quarts of water.
Okay. Okay.
But you don't need. Just fill up a pot. Everyone knows. Come on, it's linguine. It's pasta. This is it. How about this? If you're listening to this and you don't know how to cook linguine, we got you. All right. I'm gonna make it as simple as possible. Although I will say I am very shocked that you exist. But
Yes.
if you exist, I got you. Don't worry about it. We're here.
We're here.
We're doing this.
That's right.
So anyway, set it to boil. It's gonna take a while, especially if you use cold water, which you probably should. It
What?
helps. Did you?
What are you saying?
All right. You don't have to use cold water, but traditionally, you start with cold and then crank it up to high. You don't have to. It's not going to ruin the dish.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
No.
It
Okay.
can't be true. It can't be. This is a very heated debate in our house.
Is it?
So the fact that you're siding with the wrong side is making me angry.
I don't know whose side I'm siding with. I'm just I need a voicemail or something. I need a little button. No. I look. It doesn't really change the nutritional value. It doesn't change the taste per se. It's just a matter of time.
No, and that's why I think hot goes faster.
It does. It does. I'm saying I've always started with cold because it gives me more time to do all the other shit. I start with cold. I mean, I don't know if that's why everybody does it. I've always started with cold because then I do it on cold and I'm like, all right, I have a good like 10 minutes until that starts boiling. So then that literally lets me do all my produce basically.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
but
No, so like I saw
but now that I know it's so heated, let's get into this. Let's
oh
figure
my
out
gosh,
what's
totally. What I always from time to time, like I'll be coming home from work and I just get like really hangry. So I asked my amazing husband if he'll put on a boil and boil some water for me, please, so I can have pasta like right when I get home. And it's not difficult to do if he's in the kitchen. And so he throws on the pot of water. And like one time he said like cold water boils faster. And I was like, what? What are you saying? That doesn't make any sense. And so we got and like we Googled it.
right.
And then we even found this like video, like this little short, like 30-second thing of Gordon Ramsay, who like gets into it with this woman behind the counter. And the woman says, I thought that cold water boils faster. And Gordon Ramsay's shaking his head like,
No.
what is wrong
No.
with you?
It does not
And
boil
so
fast.
I agree with Gordon Ramsay. And I am just trying to make sure that this is.
Right. There's certain things that you need to use cold water for no matter what. Like if you're making your own chicken stock, right? Oftentimes you're starting with either raw chicken or chicken that you just roasted and veggies and leeks and onions and a bunch of shit inside of a pot. And you have to dump cold water on that because the cold water will not start cooking it. You want to crank it up to boil and have everything come up together. Situations like that, you need to use cold water. If you want to cut your time out, yeah, put some warm or some hot water in the pot. It'll boil a lot faster. It's not, regardless, I know who you are on the other side with, and tell Morgan I'm very sorry. I apologize. I've never met him, but you know what?
There
I
is some
apologize.
science, I think, to it. So when we Googled it,
Yeah.
cold water gets hotter quicker than
Right.
like the atoms inside of it or whatever, like heat up
Right.
faster. But once it reaches a certain point, then it's like
levels
it's just
out,
that, right? It levels out. So I could see, I guess, why it's believed. It's not like it just doesn't come from nowhere, you know?
No. I understand, and it is true, especially when the water's cold and the heat hits and stuff. But like, it's not just about kind of surface heat on the water. You have to get that entire body of water and all of the molecules and stuff up to they call it a rolling boil. That's when A rolling boil. That's when the water's like, bah, 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 you know what I mean? That's like when it's like really going.
Gotcha.
That's called a rolling boil. If you ever read that in recipes, they're like, bring your what's to a rolling boil. Like,
Good to know.
I don't know why Julia Child all of a sudden is making my recipes. So, after you bring the water to a boil, number two is you, while the water's boiling, that's your opportunity to start doing all of your produce. Like you slice the garlic, finely chop the parsley, and set that aside. I said slice the garlic. Some people make it into tiny little squares, which is also totally fine. When I say slice, I mean like slice, like keep them like pretty long. I do that because it's easier for the pieces not to burn if they're thick enough. And also
Oh,
because this is a very simple dish, you don't want everything just to get mixed together into a tiny little paste. Like you want all these ingredients to be present, right? Like you want to chop your parsley fine so it goes through everything, but you want the garlic to have like chunks. Like you want big garlic because it's got to have a kind of a presence. If this was inside of a dish that had 10 other ingredients and I needed the garlic to basically disappear and be a very subtle flavor, I want to chop it very thin. But
gotcha.
the reason that I
Okay.
told you basically do it big is because in these ingredient dishes where there's 5 ingredients, you need each of your ingredients to kind of have an oomph, like a presence. So,
Right.
and then what you're going to do then is place a saute pan on medium and pour in the oil. A lot of people don't put in the oil when the pan is cold. I do, just because I think it's a lot easier. I wait a minute, not even, and I put in the garlic and the chili flakes. And the reason I do that is so that you don't burn them. Because if you wait until your oil is like smoking and you throw in cold garlic and chili flakes,
Um,
I know how you throw things in a pan, but I go off to the side like like that. Um, when you throw things in the pan and they're cold and the oil is like smoking, it'll just it'll just start burning them right away because they'll be like, oh, they'll start freaking out. So if you bring everything together, if you bring everything up together, then it's a much better
I
situation.
love the emotion in the garlic.
You got to have emotion in the garlic. I'm like Emerald over here, Emerald Lagasse. We're gonna use just a little bit of garlic, people. Okay. Um, Sorry, I'm like yelling. All right. So yeah, basically, you bring everything up together, and then once the water, you're done pretty much. Then you have the oil is got the garlic and the chili flakes, and your parsley and garlic has already been cut, and you have a lemon off to the side, by the way, which is optional as well.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you use a lemon or not.
I did. I
Yeah,
sprinkled a
yeah.
little bit. Yep.
That's another one of the optional ones aside from cheese. It's just it gives it a nice. It helps brighten everything up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of acidity. Like I think we talked about this. Maybe we talked about this last time we spoke. Maybe not. But there's a very famous book out there, and this is just a good practice for any cook ever and any chef. Is every dish should have 4 main elements, which is salt, fat, acid, and heat. Right.
Ooh.
So salt in this dish, obviously. I didn't really give you a lot of salt and pepper instructions. Not a lot of people do that with this. I usually salt and black pepper everything, always, no matter what. Like everything. And I mean everything. Like,
Yeah, we usually sometimes, yeah,
even
for the
like
most part, we
pancakes, salt and pepper, everything. Um, no,
waffles.
but yeah, waffles, absolutely. Ice cream, black pepper. But yeah, so I didn't give you a lot of salt, but every dish should have salt, fat, acid, and heat. In this case, the saltiness would be coming from a little bit of the pasta water. You're supposed to salt the water, which I didn't write down, and I'm such an ass. I'm so sorry. So you're supposed to salt the pasta water. Sorry, uh, my bad. But yeah, so the salt would come from that, and then the acid would be the lemon, the heat would be the chili flakes, and the fat would be from the oil. So like
Okay.
when you combine, the reason that this is such a simple and great dish is because when you get everything kind of in your groove there, like I know for you it might have been a little bit on the tangy side there, depending on how many chili flakes went in there, but if you make this again, which you absolutely should because it's cheap and it's easy and
I
quick.
will. I will.
If you scale back on the chili flakes, you're going to get to a point where you realize you've kind of hit that beautiful mark of evenly getting all the flavors where you want them, and
Yeah.
you're literally going to be like, oh my god, this is one of the best pasta dishes I've ever had, and I'm not paying $18 for pasta out when I go out anymore because
Right.
this is
Right.
like way better. Um, so after the saute pan, that's where we're up to, right? The saute pan. Once the water's boiling, you want to place the pasta in the pot. And what I like to tell people is for the first 3 minutes that the pasta goes in the water, just mix it with your spoon to keep it from sticking. Because the pasta is most likely to stick to each other right in the beginning there when they're all still stacked on top of each other. Unless you have one of those Rachel Ray oval uh, linguine pots. Have you ever seen those?
No.
She's the first one that, like, I don't say she's the first one that invented it, but she definitely revolutionized it. It's an oval shaped pot for boiling pasta. So you can just take linguine flat and just drop it in, and the entire length of it fits in the pot instead of waiting for it
Ooh.
to like squeeze in and shit.
Okay.
I know my parents had it, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever when they got it. I'm like, you wasted your money. I'm like, this is retarded. I'm like, why would you do this? This is stupid. I'm like, this is a waste of money. And then my mom was like, oh yeah, watch this, and she just held a whole pound of pasta and went bloop, and dropped it in, and she didn't even have to mix it, and it just fell right in. And I was like, ah, shit. I was just like,
Life changing.
oh man. I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna have to take the L on this
How
one.
wrong were you?
More wrong than I care to admit. Um, so that's, you just mix the pasta around for the first 3 minutes. Make sure it doesn't stick. After that, once a minute is fine. I usually suggest to people to put a timer on the second the water goes in to see exactly what the pasta cooks at. If you are experienced in cooking pasta, or you can watch the clock, or you know what to look for, don't worry about it. If it's your first time cooking pasta, absolutely follow the directions on the box. They have revolutionized, and they have perfected the boxed pasta nowadays. It is easy, it's quick, and if you do it exactly that time, you're friggin' golden. That's it. So while that's happening, just stir once a minute. Now, what you have to do with this dish, as you saw, is very important. I don't know if this was an issue or not. You can tell me, but watching the garlic and the chili flakes to make sure that they don't start to burn, because
Yeah.
you don't want them turning like black, and you definitely don't want them turning dark brown. You want them to kind of keep their color, but basically get like golden a little bit, like a very
Okay.
light kind of gold. But I've had issues with that before, because I am kind of like a crazy person in my kitchen sometimes, where I'm like, no, I can't just do one thing. I need to do 25 things at once. I'm going to have every
Yeah.
appliance going, including the microwave behind me, because why not? You know? And
Yeah.
so my biggest problem for a while was making sure I didn't burn shit. That's like that was my main issue for a while. But you have to keep an eye on the garlic to make sure you're not burning it. And if you are, just turn the heat down. I mean, that's the nice thing, is that nobody will tell you this if you're not going to cooking school, but more home cooks should know this. 50% of cooking is just controlling your heat, literally. Like, most of cooking is controlling your heat.
Wow. Well, that's
Like,
surprising,
I
because I
just
don't
went
pay
from
too much
50% to
attention
what?
to the heat. So.
I know, exactly. But that's the thing. It's like, the reason I told you medium is because if I just said, oh, put a saute pan on, some people will just crank it up to high and then be like, oh shit, why is my garlic burning? They don't, So so it's always about controlling your heat. I mean, that's with anything. That's with oven temperature. That's with that, and every stove is different. Every stovetop is different. I mean, the gas powered stoves, I don't know if you cook on electric or gas. I have electric.
I have
Um,
gas.
so I had gas for many, many years. And I just recently, when we moved to this place, like a year and a half ago, I got electric for the first time. And it's not one of those like coils. It's like the glass, like flat top. So
Yep.
I'm just convinced that I'm just destroying it with my cast iron pans, like just like scratching the shit out of it. But it's very different, and every stovetop, whether it's electric or gas, is different in the way it distributes heat. Like a gas stovetop, there's things in the pan called hot spots. So like there's certain parts of the flame
Yep.
that are hotter than others, and you usually know with your pans, if you
Yeah.
use them a lot, which pan, like, no, I can't move it over there. That shit's gonna burn if I move it over there.
Yeah.
I gotta keep it on this side. So
Yep.
yeah, usually. But yeah, so just watch out for the heat there. And then that keeps going. And once the garlic and chili flakes start to fry, you want to stir them around in the oil a little bit and really get it all evenly distributed. That's usually when I lower the heat on the oil. Once they really start to kind of bubble a little bit, I lower them, because I know that they're going to have that nice little crunch that I want. And then you just basically wait till the pasta's ready. So the idea with this dish is basically timing. The idea is to not burn the garlic and make it so that just as the garlic is getting golden, you're dragging the pasta from the pot, dragging in some water along the way without spilling oil and giving yourself second-degree burns. Uh, you're dragging pasta from the pot into the oil and garlic and chili flakes, and timing it as such.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really the most difficult part, and it's not even really that difficult. I mean, regardless of how the dish turned out, and I'm curious, once I finish this up, I want to hear how you actually went through it and what your thoughts were. But, I mean, once the pasta's ready, I usually just use tongs. I don't even fuck with a strainer or anything, honestly, because as I was saying to you off camera, um, starchy pasta water is one of the most underutilized tools in the kitchen. It can help sauces adhere to any kind of pasta, and any kind of regular wheat white pasta will give off beautiful, cloudy, starchy water. And that's why if old Italian grandmothers are always like, make sure you save a cup of pasta water. Right? They say that because it's true. Like even if you're making like a red sauce, what I always do is I keep a little bit of pasta water. I spoon in like a ladle full of the red sauce into the pasta I just boiled and pasta water and mix that around. So then you always have more sauce to dump on top, but the base pasta is never just plain pasta. It's always got a little bit of the sauce in there.
That sounds
Um,
good. Okay.
it's really really good. So that's the thing. I wanted to do a red sauce for our little shindig here, but I mean, the one that I want people to experience is you can't do it in an hour. And putting it together, it's ironic because putting it together takes about 4 minutes. Like that's it.
That's
And
surprising
it
then
is,
for an hour. Oh, wow.
right, but bringing it up to a boil and then lowering it to a simmer and letting it partially covered and heat for 2 hours is gonna not be ideal for some people. It's more of like, I guess maybe we could do, maybe
Yeah,
we'll do
okay.
like a Sunday episode one day. Like this is your Sunday meal, and we'll do
Right,
like
right.
a Sunday breakfast to make for the family, and then what's your brunch on Sunday, and then here's Sunday dinner, right? Like
Yes.
So that was very Jiminy Glick of me. Have some more jujubes. Anyway, so I'm like all over the place. I apologize. Once the pasta is ready, you want to use the tongs. Careful of the oil because water and oil don't always mix. And then after that, and after you've killed the heat, is when I like to throw in the parsley, because parsley can burn really easily. So if you do it on the downslope, basically, it won't burn. And then the rest of the stuff is just optional. You want to throw on lemon and some Parmesan cheese, you can. If not, you could just serve it like that, and that's it. That's pasta aglio olio, and it's probably my favorite pasta dish just because it's literally simple, and I could make it in just the amount of time it takes for the water to come up to boil and the pasta to be done. That's it. Which
Right.
you basically did too. You did 25 minutes. You were done.
25 minutes. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is exactly what I wanted. I wanted like bam, 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 done. Right.
Yeah, no, it was really easy. So I would like definitely recommend it. There was a few things too that like I would recommend really quick because I want to get to our review. My husband and I like recorded. I let him like have the first bite and kind of give like an impartial third party.
I'm so excited.
So it's like a minute and a half. So I'll play that for you in a second. But yes, when you're chopping the garlic, I like didn't realize slice. Like I didn't even notice. Like I didn't even think like slice or chop or you know what I mean.
Dice,
so
yeah.
I would recommend doing slices because my garlic did end up not. It wasn't burnt. It definitely because I was keeping an eye on it to make sure that it didn't do that. But yeah, it definitely got a little brown there. So.
Which is also fine. Crunchy garlic is actually really good. It's just when it gets like dark brown and like almost black, that's when it's like it gets that bitter taste. Yeah. But no, if you kept it like brown, you're good. You're good. So.
It like the timing too was a little off. Like at one point I wanted to like kill the heat on like the saute thing because I was just so worried about burning the stuff. So just make sure the timing, I guess, like you're aware of that. And I probably put a little too much water because I just guessed like I never usually make like a whole box of
pound. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's cool because now I got like tons of like leftover and stuff.
That's what I forget that my wife and I don't eat like normal people. Like we'll make like a pound of pasta and we have to like try not to eat the whole thing. Where it's like,
okay.
Yeah, where I'm just like, okay. But again, I'm a New York Italian. I was raised on pasta dishes, so for me, it's like like it's insane. That's why I go to restaurants and like I used to hate ordering pasta out because they'd like bring me this like tiny little bowl and I'm just like, oh man, all right.
Oh
yeah,
like, and then spend too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like on pasta when you know that like this is so inexpensive the whole dish.
Right, exactly.
And it was funny. The one thing that he didn't mention like in the audio, but my husband he was gonna use like Mexican cheese, and I was like,
ooh,
no, like you're gonna completely like ruin the dish.
You mean like shredded Mexican cheese like for tacos?
Yes.
No, Morgan.
Yeah, so we didn't. He didn't.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, okay.
That's good. No,
you wrote cheese.
I did write cheese. That's my fault. I should have specified. All right.
So it's because the different flavors of the cheese. I'm guessing.
Right.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm like a fat kid always, right, at heart. So it wouldn't taste bad. It just wouldn't taste like Italian. It would taste like like you went to some diner in like North Dakota and they were just like, "Here's your pasta." And like, all right.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's not the goal here.
No.
All right. Okay, let's play it.
Demonstration. It's very nice.
Can you hear it?
Hot, moist-looking noodles over what looks to be parsley, fresh parsley.
You can hear a turtle tank in the background.
The aroma smells like nice country pasture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh. At first, it's very mild, and it gets spicy. That's spicy as fuck.
You got the red flakes in there?
Yeah, there's a lot of red flakes in this. There's unseen red peppers in this.
So it's
My
hot.
mouth is on fire.
Not used to that.
It's too hot.
It's too hot. Too many red peppers.
This is like you're gonna have to cut the tape.
I'm gonna try it.
Try it. At first, very good. And then Satan comes in, punches you right in the mouth. You gotta swallow it. Oh, spicy. Spicy meatball.
Yeah, it's hot. It is. I'm not used to it, like right that hot of food.
And then that was it. We left it there.
Okay, now don't lie. Don't lie. When it was a little too spicy and you started to sweat a little bit on the forehead, it was really exciting, wasn't it? Like you got a lot of excitement. You were just like, oh my, something's happening here. I don't know what's happening, right? Like you just don't come on. There was a second where you were just like, oh, this is exhilarating. Like you don't.
It was shocking. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
It
Now
was
I didn't.
fun.
I forget. I probably should have lowered the chili flake intake in the recipe for this episode.
But it's spicy memories, so you really left them with the memory of spice.
I forget that people are not freaking freaks like I am, and they don't like enjoy like pain. So like, but yeah, my spice tolerance is like off the charts right now. So like, I forget that like I could like crush up chili flakes and like snort them at this point. Like nothing will affect me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's
We're
just
not
so
there
no, not yet. You will be. Another few recipes of me, you'll be golden pony boy. Trust me. That was a great review. So thank you to Morgan for doing that.
He'll be back every week for us to give us.
I cannot wait. And tell him next time you're gonna give him a dish next time, okay? And it's gonna be the spiciest thing that you've ever made. All right. And he's gonna say, is it hot? And you're gonna be like, nope, it's sweet, like candy. He's gonna be like, okay, and then he's gonna eat it, and then you gotta film the reaction and see what happens. And,
okay, we'll see. We'll see.
That'll be good. Oh God. So yeah, basically, the good news is the chili flakes is one of the ingredients that you could really decide how much or how little you put in. If somebody does not tolerate any heat, like if somebody is super, super, super sensitive, you don't need to put a little tablespoon chili. Like a tablespoon's a lot, but I'm thinking like a saute pan for 3 tablespoons of oil, whatever. But like if you really can't tolerate any heat at all, either don't use them or literally just use a little tiny pinch. Like just do one pinch and you're good.
Okay.
It's one of the ingredients that you can kind of have a variation on, which is kind of difficult about writing recipes themselves. Is like you have to write something that is that as simple so that somebody who's never made something can basically look at it boilerplate and be like, yep, I got it, right? But you also have to make it broad enough to where people can kind of do variations on their own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the more difficult part for me because I write recipes usually how I talk, which is like an insane person. So I'm just like, throw the water in, take a look at it, like, and I'm just like, I'm like talking as if I'm on the phone with somebody. And I forget that like not everyone can read recipes like that. I am curious. So how did you find, actually, I know following the recipe itself, how did you find that?
So for me, I'm like one of those people who like I have to have it up, and even if I read it like 3 times, I forget, and then I need to go read it again because I need it to be like I have to be a perfectionist about it. So especially because I wanted to make sure that I like did this to the best of my ability. So that's why it's so funny because when you said slice the garlic, I'm like, duh, like you read it enough times, like, but you completely glazed right by it. So
I forget that normal people who don't like work in food, when I say slice the garlic, you're just thinking like, yeah, cut it with a knife, but like slice, dice, chop. I forget that not everyone speaks in these terms. Same thing, like, although it's making me so happy inside of my heart hearing you say kill the heat, because that's such a cooking term. And I love it. You're just like, I wanted to kill the heat. I think you
put it in there.
I did. Yes. I said kill the heat, but hearing you actually say it, you were like, I wanted to kill the heat. And I heard that. I was like, oh, I was like, stop.
I'm learning.
I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So yeah. But no, I'm glad at least that so it was able to be followed at least a little bit.
100%. The one that I kept going back over and over again was place the saute pan on medium and pour in the oil and then wait 1 minute and then place the garlic and the chili flakes in
Right.
because it was like, it's all one step, but it's like
Right.
3 things. Like my brain was like,
Exactly.
okay, wait 1 minute and then place in the garlic.
Well, the reason that I did that too is because you've read recipes. People listening, I'm sure, have read a bunch of recipes. Sometimes they break up the instructions so much.
Yeah,
It's like
I
20
agree.
numbers, and it's like,
Yep.
number 6, put the pan on medium. Number 7, put the chili flakes in. Number 8, wait for
Right.
I'm like,
I'm
no,
not a
like,
toddler.
because
Right.
then because then you just get confused and you're reading back. What number was I at?
Yep.
No. So sometimes it's easier just to have it. And the total amount here, there were only 8 numbers, and they were pretty
Yeah.
short sentences, so that's not that bad.
No, it was simple.
And do we want to release this in the description of the episode when it gets released? for people?
100%. Yes,
Okay,
that's a great idea.
I will fix the typo unless you want me to fill a lot with water and just confuse everybody. And I'm thinking maybe I changed their chili flakes. I don't know. Maybe I need to look at how much
or
it is.
just put in parentheses, maybe like Pebs says very spicy or something.
Right. I mean, this is one of those recipes too where like now that you've made it, you're probably going to look at the recipe one more time when you cook it. And then
Yes.
after that, you're pretty much going to be okay.
I would agree, yeah.
That's the goal for me to write some of these recipes that I love. I do that with myself. I love reading a recipe a few times. And then I love the fact that I made chili yesterday, right? I didn't need to look at a recipe. And it was my recipe that I wrote, but but I don't remember what I write down. Are you kidding me? Especially like back in the days when I used to drink, it would be like 11:45, and I'd already had like multiple glasses of bourbon, and I'd be like, I'm gonna write a fucking chili recipe. That's what I'm gonna do. And so I would go into my notes section and just write it, and then I'm not gonna remember that. But I love being able to just kind of remember and put your own variation on a recipe, which I'm hoping this will become, and the rest of the recipes that we do will become, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the point of what you and I want to try to do with this, or at least one of the points, is, show people that cooking is very accessible. And maybe a way to break into it is by doing this, getting something that has minimal ingredients that only takes under an hour,
Yep.
or 25 minutes. And, it's like baby steps, right? If you can just do something like this, then, why can't you fillet an entire salmon or, make a duck confit, which,
Yeah.
by the way, I don't know if you eat or have you ever had duck.
No.
Okay, so it's really, really good. Imagine when Thanksgiving, you eat the turkey at Thanksgiving, right? The dark meat at turkey, right? Like the dark meat, like the good meat.
That's the best.
Yeah, that's what an entire duck is. Okay.
Okay.
Entire duck is just dark meat. And
I can get behind that.
And the skin, oh baby. If you go to like a good traditional Chinese cuisine, not like a takeout Chinese restaurant, like a sit down Chinese cuisine where they have Hunan cuisine, Peking duck, the skin is so crispy and the meat is so dark and juicy. I'm telling you, it sounds weird, but give it a chance and it will become one of your favorite things. If you like the dark meat of turkey, duck will be great. Like I forced my wife to eat it once and she cried because it was a duck, but not because it tasted bad. So she was like, I didn't want to eat a duck. I'm like, yeah, but it's good, right? I'm like a psycho. So it's like living with Hannibal Lecter. But less awesome.
And speaking of, actually,
speaking of Hannibal Lecter,
next week, what are you going to kill for us? Do you have any ideas?
I have
or
a few.
Next month, I should say.
Next month. Oh, good. Okay. We could do this every week.
I was gonna say we got time.
Okay.
So,
I'm
no
thinking
stress.
one of two things. I would love to teach people how to spatchcock a chicken. Which, if you just heard me say the word spatchcock, you're not hearing that wrong. That is what the word is. So enjoy that. Look it up too. I'm not making that up. It's called spatchcock.
It's a thing, yeah.
It's a thing. It's great. It's amazing. It's the best word that's ever been invented ever. Either spatchcock chicken, which is essentially just making it flat by cutting out the spine, but we'll get into that if I end up doing it, and or crispy salmon squares, with crispy little salmon bits, basically, which is just going to be like a noodle and salmon dish with very, very, very crispy salmon, which I don't ever really remember experiencing a place that made me like crispy salmon. Like when you get salmon steaks at restaurants a lot of times, and I'm sure a lot of people who order them see this, the top is usually broiled or crispy, right? But like the inside just kind of like melts.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is different. This is like you're cubing up, like making them tiny little rounds and marinating them in some soy and some sesame and stuff and some seasonings, and then literally just baking it on a sheet or putting it in a pan with oil, which will be a lot faster. But if you want it to all cook evenly, you have a preheated oven, you just do that. And having crispy, crunchy salmon is not something that I'm used to outside of like some sushi restaurants that do that. So I was like, how do I bring that a little more accessible to people? And it came out of just like not knowing what to cook one day. I was like my wife was here and she was kind of like feeling under the weather and she needed something to eat. And we had like fucking nothing in the house, like at all. But as I mentioned, I work in some professional kitchens. So a lot of times the chef will be nice enough to give me scraps or like whatever we didn't use or like, just a whole ass thing of salmon sometimes. And so my chef Melissa gave me a lot of salmon belly over the past few months, and the salmon belly is so tasty. It's not as nutritionally, like a lot of like gym people will not like the salmon belly because it's like a little more fatty, but that's also why it tastes better. So, but you can do what I'm going to show people with either or basically. So yeah, I'm thinking either a crispy salmon bit with noodles, like a sautéed noodle kind of dish, or a spatchcock chicken. Either one you can pretty much do in an hour. You can do in an hour or less, and they're both equally good, except one's chicken and one is salmon. So I don't know.
Right? It's gonna be a tough pick.
We'll leave that. We'll tease it up a little bit for people.
Yeah.
We'll leave it up for the following month. But yeah. What else? Anything else about the recipe you wanted to go over? Talk to me about.
I mean, I just need to give out the name at the end of every episode. I think we should call the recipe a name.
Okay.
And I think most of the time, because Morgan did such a great review, I think he's going to end up coming up with the title pretty good. He wanted us to call this one Heartburn.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Well, all right. Hold on. If we're
only because of the heat.
Hold on. If we're going to call it heartburn, we can't lower the amount of chili flakes. They have to stay.
Right.
They have to stay exactly what they are. So we can call it heartburn, but only if I could increase the amount of chili flakes.
Yeah.
And it's really heartburn.
That's cool with me. Okay.
Oh, man, I'm so glad that I didn't cook for you first, because I probably would have like murdered you. All of my dishes.
We were very
so
vanilla.
spicy. Like,
they were very plain, very mild.
Which is good though. So look, I'm gonna slowly turn you into like the 45-year-old couple who traveled to Europe and now comes back with like a little bit of an accent.
Okay,
saying things differently. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna slowly
get us out of our pastaroni ways.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
I'm gonna just slowly touch your skin with a pepper. You know what I mean? Just like get it more and more spicy. No, it'll be good. You guys will be breathing fire by the end of it. No, because look, spices, the amount of level of spice that like you guys are dealing with in this dish, right? You can lower the chili flakes. That's perfect. It's got the right amount of heat. But spice to a certain level can really affect your body as far as like making you feel like you're like on a drug, like literally, like to a certain point. Like if you eat the hottest pepper in the world, the Carolina Reaper, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, like it's insane. Like it's insane. You've eaten jalapenos before, right?
I don't like any of that.
Okay, so jalapenos are spicy for people, no offense, like you, who don't.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying like.
I agree.
I mean, like people who don't handle a lot of spice.
Right.
Jalapenos on the scale, the Scoville scale, which is just a scale that measures heat, they hit about 2,500. Okay. The peppers that I use in my sauce, habaneros, are 250,000, and the hottest pepper in the world is like 2.1 million. So,
wow.
Yeah. So we're talking like a few million times hotter than a jalapeno is the hottest pepper in the world. When you eat something that hot, your neck starts to burn a little bit, and you get this very euphoric kind of feeling. You feel extremely out of it. Your mouth has been on so much fire that it just goes numb at that point, and it gives you a very almost like drug-induced kind of euphoric kind of feeling. And
yikes.
Yeah, it's insane. But it's also like very sought after. I mean, that's why my hot sauce that I sell says pleasure spiked with pain. Because it's a play on BDSM, but also, like it is. It's that's what everybody gets from heat. So, I don't know. I'm super excited because you are very willing to cook anything, and you went right into this too. You like barely had any questions. You asked me like one question, and it was basically like the parsley. You're like, can I use curly parsley? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yours is like, cool, and you just barreled into it. Like I love it.
Yep.
So I think for next month we can decide, and we can maybe tease it with people if you'd like. That's it. I mean, do you have anything else to add for these?
No,
people?
I just want everyone to know that's the whole point of this podcast. Really, is if I can do it, you can do it. You know what I mean. It's basically why I'm doing the podcast is because everybody has to make freaking dinner, like we mentioned earlier, literally. And to make it easy on you when making said dinner, and also enjoying something that like actual people enjoy. So, and
I
it
know.
comes from the heart too. I know these recipes
Exactly.
come from the heart. So.
I'm trying to pick things that I genuinely like too, because I could easily write recipes of things that I don't care about. And
Right.
you could be like, this is
I'm
great.
sure
And
you could. Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like the fact that you were able to get through the first time actually properly following one of my recipes for this pasta dish that I love, like regardless of the fact that I may have just, totally changed Morgan's cardiovascular future. Aside from that, um, aside from that, I like am so thoroughly like happy that it was able to just be followed in general. So, and like you said, I say it about myself all the time on the show as well. If I can cook, like anybody can cook, literally. I am the most uncoordinated person you've ever met in your entire life. Like I fall going up the stairs, you know what I mean? Like I am so uncoordinated. So if I can manage to not burn the house down or chop a finger off and I can actually throw a dish together, anybody can do it. So
Mhm.
that's I think what we're giving people is a gift, and they should be a little more thankful because I'm not feeling the love.
Yeah.
They
Say
haven't really
thank you by
thank you.
subscribing.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
All of the comments, all of the likes. We're gonna try and get this podcast out on all streaming platforms. So if it's not where you listen at just yet, maybe you're listening like through our websites, whatever have you. It's coming. So 5 ingredients. We'll have 5 new ones for you coming up next week. And a shout out to Captain Cook over there, Mr. Chris. Wait, how do you say the last name again?
Buson.
Oh, Busone. I
There you
see
go.
it in my head and I'm like, I'm not going to
I
fuck
know.
it up.
You could say, I mean, if it's easier, you could say bus one. That's what people used to call me.
You
So.
see, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing
No,
that.
because it's, well, I used to tell that to people because that's literally how you spell it is Busone.
Right.
It's bus one. So it's like, people are like, that's how you pronounce your name? I'm like, no, that's how I'm pronouncing it for you. That's what I used to tell people.
Okay. Right,
So,
right.
But no, yeah, you said it correctly, Buson. So.
All right, cool. And it's Pebs, I guess, signing off. Thanks so much for joining us. And we'll have another recipe for you in about a month. See ya.